question is posed as to help me further understand the mechanics of the gross, the subtle, and the causal body. In this case, I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the function or the purpose of the subtle body for the jiva is to experience the world that is contained in the gross body. Now,
it all begins with contacting the world of the physical material objects.
Yeah.
And then this physical material world gets imprinted in its mind, and then later on he has the option to become not only the awaker but the dreamer. He dreams while dreaming, and he dreams while awaking as well. You understand? So many times you will see the subtle body being referred as the dreamer. It dreams while awake, it dreams because it has its own objects already printed, already impressed in its mind. You understand?
So all Andre's experiences are in the subtle body, in my subtle body. So all experiences that this body contacts, all of that is possible because of the subtle body.
All of the experience that we have.
Even this conversation now.
Yeah.
So there is. I'm seeing you, and could I say that you are of the gross body, the physical?
Yes, I am Ishvara's creation.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is possible now because there's the mechanics of the subtle body simultaneously in effect right now?
Yeah. The subtle body becomes a knower and the experience of objects, but only when it's anchored or planted in a physical body. When it's no longer in the physical body, it's just the contents of its mental, emotional impressions from previous conditions on which he was hooked with the body and contacting physical material objects and retaining impressions, memories. So when you see me, you're seeing an object which was Ishvara's object. And I see you, you are an object of Ishvara as well. So what is your creation and what is Ishvara's creation? That is the base of your question, if I understood you correctly. So Ishvara creations is the world of material elements. Everything, physical, material, creation of Ishvara, objects, right? The universe. That is Ishvara's creation. And then there is another level of creation, which is a byproduct of the Jiva's subtle body in contact with the world of physical objects. Okay? And then it allows it to develop mental impressions. Those mental impressions is the raw material from which it makes readings and interpretations of the physical material later on. It's a projection over Ishvara's projection. So when you see me, you are not seeing just the three energies and the five elements composed in a certain way, giving birth to a construct called Arlindo. No? So you are not seeing just the elements and there is something there. No, you see Arlindo because by now you have a knowledge that there is a certain name and form called Arlindo. So when I appears the knowledge. You see, you have now Ishvara's creation and your own creation, which is a superimposition on Ishvara's creation. Because Ishvara's creation in this case is not Arlindo, it's just another eternal jiva, another universal eternal jiva coming to place, and then your own subjective, reality is going to give name and forms to it, and call it, oh, Jesus Arlindo, and he's my friend, and he's my teacher, or whatever. So what is yours and what is Ishvara? Ishvara just projects the elements in different shapes and forms, and you give to them name and form, names to the forms. You understand? It's all the elements, and somehow we superimpose names to them according to the composition of the energies and the elements, which comes with different properties and qualities and so on.
And where are those properties and qualities stored? Is that the causal body, the universal causal body? Like, what gives me the capability? From where am I drawing these qualities and these attributes and then superimposing it? Where am I getting this from?
From your vasanas.
From the vasanas.
Vasanas. Every reading we do of the field is based on our vasanas. And this is a long process of accumulation of impressions. So we carry it, and then they become dormant when we leave the body. They come, and then at the age 2-3 they start coming back. All those predispositions or tendencies, or those seeds of knowledge, or desires and fears, or likes and dislikes, they are going to attract the new jiva to certain objects. And then there is a very nice analogy that explains how these things develop. There was a time that human beings were created, intelligent human beings, many millions of years ago. And then we evolved to live in the caves. We evolved to develop some weapons that would help us to find food, and to kill some other creatures to eat without being killed so easily. So they were living in the cave. And there was this beautiful couple. They had a beautiful child. That was the first child they have. They loved this child. And this child began growing in the cave. And the father, being the provider, meaning to say the one who goes to hunt. The wife was taking care of the babe, preparing the food, and cleaning the cave, clean enough. One day the wife was home, and she somehow distracted herself a little bit with the cooking in the kitchen, in the corner of the cave. And then the little babe was already developed to the point to move. And he started going, how you say? Crawling? He started crawling, and then the mother looked around and said, my baby, where is my baby? So the baby was out of the cave. When he goes out of the cave, he was like, wow, this is an incredible universe. Now I understand why I was standing here. This is something unbelievable. All these blue skies, these huge trees, and all these creatures flying, and it was fascinating. The baby was like, ah. So as he was there, he saw this giant, beautiful creature with a long neck and a long tail coming close to him, with these beautiful, innocent eyes, with this big mouth, with huge teeth. Everything was so beautiful and innocent, because that was the projection of the little baby. I said, wow, unbelievable. And then the baby was so much in love with this huge creature, they say, oh man, come here, let me love you. And then the baby, as it came close, the baby was just swallowed by a dinosaur. Dinosaur. So it was the first encounter of that soul with a dinosaur. And the child had no vasana, he had no any impression, any data that would say, oh, I like this. To him, he was innocent, he found it the most beautiful thing. When he wanted to kiss the dinosaur just ate him in one single bite. So it was very tragic, the mother, the father, oh, my little babe, my little babe. So some time went by and then the couple had another babe. So this babe came and then he started growing again, and guess what? It was the same soul. Those days there were not many embodied creatures, human creatures. So Ishvara did not have many options to place souls here and there and say, okay, I'm going to place this soul in the same cave. So the same soul came to that cave and started growing. And then a little later, when he was not just a babe, but a little bit more grown up, but still a little kid, he started coming out of the cave. And then he had his first encounter with the dinosaur. When he looked at the dinosaur, he found it very beautiful. He had no concept of dangers, good and bad, He had no concept. But when he saw the dinosaur, something inside of himself told him, or did not tell him, made him rush away and back to the cave, searching for security. So what made him rush when he first saw that? It was the knowledge from previous life that was well stored in his causal body as a seed potential for experience and knowledge. So he had already a certain vasana of aversion towards a dinosaur, so that knowledge was already ingrained in his subconscious mind. So very small little thing, 2 years, 3 years, and he rushed back to the cave, and he knew already. Nobody told him, it was the first encounter. So these are the tendencies, the vasanas that bring us back. And we have this knowledge here as seed, as potential, and then it's going to somehow condition the objects of desire and fear we're going to be attracted and transacting with. You understand? Is it related to your question?
Yes.
Okay. One more question.
Yes, that implies another question. Although it's
Does anybody have another question?
Yes, I have.
I haven't.
That's okay, I just want to get a picture.
So that chart, we've been speaking a lot about how the subtle body reflects and relates to the jiva. So that's the microcosm, yes, of the jiva, the gross, the subtle, and the causal body. That also implies that there's a replica on the macrocosm that Ishvara also has, therefore, the gross, the subtle, and the causal body.
Yeah.
Yes. So they're both really, it's just the microcosm,
Micro and macro.
the non-eternal jiva, and then the macrocosm, the eternal jiva.
Yeah.
And yet they both share the same three bodies. Is that
And the
correct?
same source, yeah.
I'm just related to sleep, I truly
Yeah.
understand this.
Yeah. So, in fact, sometimes the scripture says that everything is eternal in here. Ignorance is beginningless, jivas are beginningless, everything has always existed. You understand? It's just a question of sometimes it's manifest as physical, material universe, with all its objects, including the jivas, and sometimes it remains as potential in its seed form. But it's all in there. When the universe comes out of existence, it remains as the macrocosmic causal body of the universe. It's always there. And then Maya comes and then it does something that the seed, poof, becomes a tree.
Maybe more right to say is to say that Jiva and Ishvara are the same reflected consciousness, not the same bodies.
Jiva and Ishvara.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they are the same reflected consciousness.
Yeah.
No, they are not the same bodies.
The same bodies, yeah. Yeah.
Because
It-
the subtle body of Ishvara, for example, as we know, translated cosmic womb or cosmic egg.
Right.
Yeah, it is Ishvara's subtle body.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Virat is Ishvara's physical body.
Yeah. You see, it's all the same trick. It's consciousness reflecting Maya and creating this whole universe in three bodies. And then from the standpoint of the Jiva, who becomes a individual subject with its own subject perception of the world, and then it becomes my story, my subconscious mind, my body. So we personalize on a small speck of what Ishvara is, which is the totality. But it all happens in those three levels. Everything is contained there, and then here, and then here. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So ultimately, there's no really three bodies or three gunas. It's just as a reference for the one that doesn't know, for them to divide the big picture and to come to the conclusion that's Tamasi. So would be that along the lines of correct? That there's no really three bodies.
Well,
three gunas.
there is three bodies, but the ultimate truth is that there is nothing. But the moment that Maya comes into place, and then we cannot deny three bodies. You understand? But when we negate Maya, and then the universe disappears as consciousness, you know, in our knowledge, understand? And then there is no such a thing as Ishvara, Jiva, and then the world, or the three bodies, or the three energies, or the five elements. None exist the same way. All shapes made of clay are just clay. Right? The ultimate teaching is that there is nothing, but it's a teaching that is only good when we realize the truths about that. Otherwise, it's easily misleading and deceiving, because people are going to say, okay, if there is nothing, so why bother about following Dharma, contemplate, meditate, and so on, if nothing really exists? Well, this is a teaching that it's a bit tricky and not much help, but it's the truth. It's good when we come to that level of understanding that all there is consciousness, and then somebody comes and say, yes, you are right. There is only you, nothing else. Nothing exists. But if you hear that like we used to hear that from Papaji in those days, and then you get confused because you say, oh my God, there is something wrong with me because I'm seeing the world. I want to get rid of the world and everything. So, Satya and Mithya. In Mithya we have some sub-orders of reality within Mithya. Okay? Ishvara, Jiva, and the world. causal body, the subtle body, and the physical body. Why the subtle body is often referred as the jiva, although the subtle body needs the physical body to be a knower. It's referred as the jiva because here is where knowledge takes place, and the intellect is the most subtle aspect of the subtle body. The intellect is the sattvic aspect, the most sattvic aspect of the subtle body. And here is where the ego takes place, so where we own our actions, we own the thoughts floating by. So here is where the phenomenon called I and mine occurs. Here is where the phenomenon of deciding, determining, discriminating, so on takes place. Therefore, we refer to the jiva as the subtle body because it's the conscious aspect of its sense of existence. But the subtle body is nothing without its causal body. If we don't have all the vasanas, which are essential for the function of the individual, feeding all those pieces of knowledge, tendencies, informations, and so on, constantly feeding us what we need to respond to the field, our vasanas. We are being operated by everything that was known and all the impressions are there from past experience, all the tendencies. Our karma comes from there. It's sleeping here and then it appears in here and here.
The vasanas contain the knowledge, you say?
Huh?
The vasanas are necessary for the jiva to function.
Yeah, the jiva is an object. It's an object with three bodies, and with a subtle body which reflects awareness and allows this object to experience the environment around him. You understand? So we need the three bodies. And then people say, but if I am fundamentally my subtle body, so I don't care for the physical body. But the moment that the subtle body is removed from the physical body, this subtle body no longer has the ability or the possibility to transact with the world and work out its karma. It stops. The only way to work out its karma is by the means of transacting with Ishvara's physical material world. The moment that we cannot, we don't have our sense instruments here and our instruments of action here, we cannot transact with the world anymore. We cannot work out our karma. Everything stops. It's like that play, the music stop and then everything stop. And then you remain there, waiting for the next verse to carry on your desires and fears. We can say that you remain in a condition, the vasanas remains in a condition in which those subjective impressions of pleasure and pain, desires and fears, they play themselves out. That's why we call 7 levels of heaven and 7 levels of hell. So everything is going on there. If there is a lot of affliction is going to be there, but there's nobody to own it and say, so I am suffering. No, suffering is happening. Because the moment that we are no longer in a physical body, our sense of discriminating, our free will is not available, the sense of I am, mine, I and mine, and my ego and my suffering, all of that goes. The moment that we are not anchored in a physical body, we are no longer an experience entity. It's pure subjectivity without any free will. But it's energy that may feel comfortable or uncomfortable.
And just for information, every time, how does the three bodies apply to Ishvara?
Yeah. Ishvara is not a big jiva. That's important to understand.
Yeah.
Ishvara is the entire creation, and it projects itself on three orders or dimensions of existence, which is the causal, the subtle, and the physical. It manifests in reference to us, because even some other jivas, they may have different ability to perceive phenomena, and they see things that we don't see. They hear things that we don't hear. You understand?
Yeah.
So in reference to us, we have this material phenomenal world created by Ishvara, and those connect. It's all about our perceptions here. In reference to our perceptions, this world exists in a certain way, and we own our experience, and then we are subjected to all the laws operating and governing this system. But it's all in reference to us, human jivas, Ishvara is just what it is. A system of, the universe appearing in three levels.
Oh, is it, maybe now I'm on the wrong track completely, but is it more a case that Ishvara is like a collective governance function over all the individual jivas?
Yeah.
Pure self.
Or is it more, maybe what I'm saying, is it more like something abstract, like a governance of the collective, or is it
No.
somehow above,
No.
like a being, a separate being?
No, Ishvara pervades everything. Ishvara, it is the material cause of the universe, but before that we can say it's the intelligent cause. It's the knowledge. And the best pointer or description of Ishvara I heard so far or read so far is that Ishvara is pure sattva. Sattva is the seed of knowledge and intelligence containing the whole universe. And then out of sattva itself, rajas and tamas develop. And then you have the universe appearing here in its causal domain. Everything is already there. And then from there it appears here, and then it manifests here in physical, material universe that we perceive. But fundamentally, Ishvara is pure knowledge, intelligent. But it's not something apart from the creation. It's like the spider in the web.
It's like intelligent design of the universe.
Yeah. It's
More like that.
it's the intelligence design, which is self-governing and
Self-actualizing.
Yeah. Something like that. You have anything to say, Samadhi? Samadhi has often very good inputs. And Vinay as well. You have something to say, Vinay?
I think in Panchadasi it says that the jivas are like raindrops in a cloud.
Huh?
Jivas are like raindrops in a cloud. The
Rain.
cloud stands for Ishvara, and
Yeah.
jivas are the raindrops in the cloud.
Yeah, that's very...
Containment, some sort of containment.
So,
You see, those are all analogies, metaphors, trying to point to something that somehow is beyond human comprehension. But we know the effects and we try to draw some conclusions of its cause. So this is a nice analogy. The jivas are raindrops.
What I understand from the teaching, that, okay, we know that there is only one consciousness. And consciousness, only this one consciousness, illumines three bodies on the microcosmic level and on the macrocosmic level.
Yes.
About macrocosmic level, it is clear, Prajna, Tajasa, Vishwa, and three together is Jiva.
Right.
On the macrocosmic level, the same. And they use in Sanskrit different three terms too.
Right.
For example, they say that consciousness, reflected consciousness behind the macrocosmic causal body is antaryami, which means, okay, and next level, subtle universe or subtle Ishvara's body is Hiranyagarbha, cosmic egg.
Right.
And on the physical level, physical universe is Virat. So what they say, if I understood correctly, all these three bodies, all three universe on the macrocosmic level is Ishvara.
Yeah, very well put. And Samadhi has some good good reading. She does some good studies on Sanskrit texts and she has the terms, so she's great help. Very well said. You see the distinction? Right, go ahead.
Who creates those three bodies? Because now, just reverting back, we said that Ishvara is pure sattva, pure intelligence. And now we just said that Ishvara is three bodies. So, who created who? Is it the sattva? Is it from out of
Maya. We always, Vedanta is the only body of knowledge which was not created by anybody, was revealed to us, that brought Maya into the picture so that we can blame Maya.
All these names are for reflected consciousness.
Yeah.
And it is why Ishvara and Jiva, the same reflected consciousness.
Yeah.
On
Yeah.
this level we can see it very clearly
Yeah.
too.
It's all.
There is identity. But on the level of reflected consciousness.
Yeah. It's all a reflection, it's all a projection, and it's all due to Maya. And you cannot ask the question why Maya came into place, because awareness is one without a second, and nobody can say where Maya comes from. It's something that is not really belong to Maya, it does not belong to Ishvara. Those are questions that cannot be answered. But the best explanation to understand the puzzle of creation is to understand that the robe is not a robe, the snake is not a snake, but a robe. That's the only explanation that solves the case. You know, if we try to understand, really to analyze and the properties and the qualities and the fundamental nature of the snake on the robe, we can talk for lifetimes, and we are never going to figure it out. What is the nature of this snake on the robe? And then, finally enough, somebody comes, hey guys, you have spent already many lifetimes, so many books were written about the nature of this snake, and now I'm going to tell you the truth. There is no snake. Well, that's the only way to understand the universe. Understand? It's all lies, it's all consciousness. Why it came about, there is no why, because it's not really real. We can ask question how the mirage came about in the desert, and then we find some some answers. Oh, it's some object, phenomenon, illusion, producing the illusion, so on. But then we are talking about two phenomena within the same order of reality, mithya, the desert and then projects. But when we talk about Ishvara or Maya and awareness, we are talking about two orders of reality, of the same one reality. It's just one projection appearing in that which we are, consciousness, awareness. That's all we can know, and that's all we can understand. There's no point trying to understand how and why it came about.
James puts it very nicely. He said, the causal body and Maya is more subtle than the mind.
Yeah.
So that's why the mind can never understand this. And all the questions are from the mind.
Yeah.
So you don't give up, but keep asking. And the most beautiful answer is Maya makes the impossible possible.
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
That's a good answer, no?
So the whole point is not to analyze the nature of the snake or how it came about, but rather to use Vedanta
To negate the snake. Negate snake and see you as you are. Because that's the way we remove suffering, anxiety and so on, the human condition, But we cannot. We are effect, like Dedrick was saying, we are effect of certain causeless cause, or cause Maya. We are an effect. So as an effect, we can somehow work some inferential possibilities, By the effects, we can draw some potential reasons for the cause, but it's so complex. That's why it's impossible, and that's why we are so blessed, because Ishvara presents the knowledge to us. Without Ishvara, we are clueless. How you say clueless? Clueless. Huh? Cluelessness, but we are clueless. One of the things that I'm loving about this seminar is that my English is improving. Yeah. Because when I had the restaurant, I was improving my English, but it was all about words around food and wine. Does not help much in the world of Vedanta.
How may I help you?
Yeah. Sadashiva Samarambam Shankarya Sharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Isvarugurate Meti Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyomavada Vakpata Dhyaya Dakshinamurtiya Namaha Sava Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharantam Agocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satiguru Pranatoshmaham Om Shanti Ramji Shamkara Dayananda. Verse 21.
+7
Plus 7?
equals 91.
Oh. Just as the actions done in a dream are dissolved on awaking, the accumulated results of past actions are dissolved by self-knowledge. You know the guy who killed his wife? You heard about that? Came in the newspapers in India at a certain point? No. Yeah. He killed his wife, and then in the next morning he was feeling so guilt because he had a feeling, understand about Dharma. He went to the local police station and said, "Hey, I'm sorry. I can't live with myself anymore. I killed my wife last night." And say, "Wow, this is serious stuff. So they'll tell me." And then they just handcuff the guy and say, "So tell us, where is the location of the crime?" He says, "On my bed." On your bed? Yeah, it's on my bed. So what time? In the middle of the night. And where is the body? Ah, no, she's already out for work. What? Yeah, no, I killed her in my dream. I had a dream, and in my dream I just strangled her, I killed her. So he killed the wife in the dream state, and he took it as real. Therefore he went to the police station, then the cops told him, no, you came to the wrong address. You have to go to the dreaming police station, and then you give yourself in and you spend some time there. So just as the actions done in a dream are dissolved on awaking, the accumulated results of past actions are dissolved by self-knowledge. So what are the accumulated results of past actions? Parabhada karma, the karma that unfolds to us over and over again. They are dissolved by self-knowledge. This verse draws us again to the question of karma and states unequivocally, help.
Unequivocal.
Huh?
Unequivocal. Yeah.
No, I just want to spell it right.
Unequivocal.
Unequivocal. No, unequivocally.
Unequivocal.
It states unequivocally. And states unequivocally that the liberation releases us from the results of past actions. However, innumerable this may be. How is this release accomplished? If the body remains, it must act and experience the results of action. It cannot maintain motionless as caricatured by the image of the meditating holy man sitting at the top mountain of Arunachala. You know, you understand now why people do not want to talk even and act. Because if you talk and act, you're going to just give people the impression that you have karma. Your tendencies are going to come through.
You're no longer holy.
Yeah, you're no longer holy. Your tendencies are going to come through, and your your words may be a little bit angry sometimes. So it's better to stay quiet if you want to be a holy man. It cannot remain motionless as charactered by the image of the meditating holy man sitting atop of mountain. So we must ask, how does self-knowledge solve the effects of past action? That's a good question, huh? So, how about that guy who was a criminal before and then the cops come, hey, we have done our work and now we know you are Mr. So-and-so. You change your name, you let your beard grow and so on. But you're going to be arrested. It happened 35 years ago. I like this example because from the time of Osho, I have a lot of friends on the early 80s that were making a lot of money with a drug called ecstasy. It was named ecstasy at the time. And a lot of them were not caught, but they lived for decades under the paranoia that they were going to get them, because some people have the name here and there, but they could never get them. Just imagine the paranoia. And then one of those guys had some epiphanies and became a kind of a guru. Just imagine the guy there teaching enlightenment, and they come and arrest him because of something he did 35 years ago. I mean, Ishvara does not care if you're wise now. You did something stupid before, so here is your karma manifesting. Some suppose that enlightenment somehow erases awareness of the body. If this is not the case, they argue, bondage must remain. But bondage, we must recall, is identified with the not self. The body need not disappear from awareness for us to be free. We must simply cease to think that I am the body of myself as the body. It's a very simple understanding that makes the difference. The body is going to keep doing things according to its nature. But we know we are not the body. But why it says that the knowledge dissolves the accumulated results of past actions? How so? If actions have to fructify sooner or later. What it means? Let's see what they say here. And the body cannot disappear from awareness in any case, for it is a manifestation of Ishvara, which is to say that it has empirical, physical, practical reality to it. So we cannot deny Ishvara's creation. We can, but then we have to resolve everything as Satya. But from here we cannot deny. So the body is just one among all objects of Ishvara, in the macrocosmic body of Ishvara. The body will never disappear. The enlightened one cannot make the body disappear, because he did not make the body in the first place, right? We did not create the body, and then the body is going to remain there according to its Prarabdha karma. Because the body is a manifestation of Ishvara, which is to say that it has empirical reality. Strictly speaking, there is only one reality, the self. Now again, we go back. Talk about reality here. You brought Ishvara reality? No. The ultimate truth is that there is only Satya, one reality. One reality, the self. But we can discuss appearances in reality on different suborders of the apparent reality. Right? We have one reality alone appearing with two, and within the apparent order of reality we have suborders of reality, meaning to say Ishvara, Jiva and Jagat, the world. The self, but we can discuss appearance of reality on different levels, so long as we are clear about the provisional nature of this appearance. So we don't want to get caught up in mithya. So we go through the teachings of Ishvara, Jiva, Jagat provisionally, so that we can understand how this apparent order of reality works, and live in a way that we develop a contemplative mind, a pure mind, a calm mind. So provisionally we give reality to all those suborders only for the sake of helping the jiva to purify its mind. Then once the mind is pure, and then we can go into the Tattvamasi teaching. And then from different angles, we're going to say you are that. Vedanta posts three levels of reality. The highest, the empirical, and the imaginary. This is all about the questions of Andrea before. Vedanta posits three levels of reality, the highest, the empirical, and the imaginary. The highest level, Paramartika Satyam, so it's the absolute, there he comes. Andre, come. Oh, we are missing you. It's because the commentaries came exactly to the point of your question. It's meant to be. Strictly speaking, there is only one reality, the self. But we can discuss appearance of reality on different levels, those sub-orders of realities, such as Ishvara, Jiva, and Jagata. As long as we are clear about the provisional nature of these discussions, of this appearance, we are going to do our work here on the level of Mithya, only for the sake of purifying the mind. We give provisional reality to that, but the ultimate reality is that all there is Satya, consciousness, and everything is just an appearance. But we're going to work here now. Vedanta posits 3 levels of reality: the highest, the empirical, and the imaginary. The highest level, Paramartika Satyam, is that in which being is understood to be undivided awareness. So, like Nisargadatta used to call the absolute reality. So the Paramartika Satyam is awareness, consciousness, the self. The empirical reality, Vyavaharika Satyam, is being with apparent limitations, corresponds to what is commonly perceived as the world, as the universe. It's conventionally accept nature of things. So the universe is the empirical reality. The imaginary reality, Pratibhasika Satyana, is that which is mental product of the individual and restrict to his perception alone, as in an image in a dream. So the dream state illustrates very well this ability of the subjective content of our mind project the world of objects in the dream state. So it's all our stuff, all our impressions that somehow project themselves. This is the Pratibhasika Satyam realm, which is purely subjective and referring to the individual alone from where this projection comes. We referred the image in the dream. We referred earlier to adhyasa, which is the mixing up of the real with the unreal. So this is the projection of the jiva. The jiva is a projection over the projection. It's a superimposition over Ishvara's Maya's superimposition. That's what it's saying here. Which is the mixing up of the real with the unreal. The term unreal is inherently contradictory, as there can be no such a thing as unreal. There is being, period. So this mixing up, which is often referred to by the unwieldy term superimposition, can be more precise defined as confusing the highest level of reality with the empirical, and not only with the empirical, but with the imaginary reality, which is the superimposition of every jiva. Every jiva has a slightly different kind of view of the world, interpretation, superimposition. So there is Maya superimposition, jiva superimposition. In short, all this confusion occurs when we think the not self. What is the not self? Ishvara, jiva, and the world. All this confusion occurs when one object here, having a mind with content of all its notions, ideas, give reality to Ishvara's projection. It even brings about the concept that there is a creator and with its laws and so on. It's all subjective. It only happens to the human jivas, by the way. Of course, when we think they're not self to be the self. Yes, Juliet?
There is a projection over a projection, because as the individual jiva is modifying the projection as well, right?
Yeah. There is the projection of the universe, which is a superimposition on you awareness. And then there is your mind that somehow projects meaning, ideas, likes and dislikes, opinions on Ishvara's creation. Of all other creatures, they don't have any opinion about what's going on. You understand? They don't have psychological problems.
It makes it even more complicated than to get rid of ignorance. You have to try to get free of all.
No, it's much more simple than what you imagine. You just have to stay with Vedanta and things fall into place very soon. It's not very complicated, right? It's just if you stay with it steadily, it's like a puzzle that comes together when you see, you understand, and then you know who you are, and then it's just a question of keeping doing your nididhyasana to keep this knowledge always good.
It's quite scary to see how complicated it is, I didn't even know about that, I never heard about that. So to hear about that is kind of, it is even more confusing, Ignorance is much more complex.
That's why you need to submit your opinions, ideas, notions, interpretations. We have so dear to us as mind knowledge, but the truth is that there is a lot of ignorance in there. There are some good and proper perceptions of phenomena. So we need to submit our mind to the scriptures so that we develop knowledge. And then when we look at the phenomenal world from the standpoint of knowledge, and then all is beautiful and all is very simple. We need to get rid of those wrong interpretations with those energies that projects the snake on the robe, or those energies that somehow conceals the perception that there is even a robe or a snake there. You understand? Yeah. You just have to clean a little bit the mind, and you clean that by submitting it to knowledge. You understand? I come back to you, just Sylvia.
Yeah, what I wonder about is so the universe is a projection of Maya.
Yeah.
But Maya is the one factor we cannot define. So then it all gets there is this variable which is quite important, but this one we cannot grasp. So then what to say? It's
yeah, we know how it works by inference. We know how the universe somehow works.
really somehow.
Yeah, but we don't know. Nobody, Ishvara is all-knowing because it's the intelligence projecting and governing everything, keeping everything in place, including in the microcosmic, all the small pieces and parts and systems in our body. It's all Ishvara running to perfection, But we don't know why. We can know how. But we cannot know how in the way that we can never have the full picture, the full vision, the full knowledge. But some people here, some people there, and that's why Ishvara came and revealed this knowledge to us. Because without Ishvaras, we cannot figure out much, But we infer that there is a cause for the creation because nothing comes from nothing. It must come from awareness, but awareness is not a doer of action. Therefore, there must be an agent or a force that somehow causes the impossible possible. You understand? And this is all revealed to us by Ishvara itself. Yes, James.
Just to return to the earlier question, one of the things that I've noticed about the teaching is that
occasionally will come upon a teaching that addresses a question that we don't yet have. So sometimes it seems a little complicated or unnecessarily fussy, but sooner or later I found the question does arise.
Yeah.
There really aren't any teachings that don't address a fundamental classic question that the mind will sooner or later come up with.
Yeah. Can you repeat it? You mean the mind comes up or the teachings come with the answer?
The mind comes up with the question sooner or later.
Yeah.
And the teachings all address fundamental questions.
Yeah.
We may not have that question now,
Right.
Yeah.
but sooner or later we will if we don't hear the answer.
Right. I did not quite understand in reference to Juliet, you mean?
Julia was just wondering about the 3 levels of
The projection, the projection of the jiva that makes things more complicated.
The introduction of the Vyaharika Satya. It is a complication, but sooner or later one can evade the question, why does it appear that there is a physical world and what is its status?
Right.
And one wants to know why. Vedanta answers that question.
Vedanta answers. That's what I want to make sure that I understood you say. Yeah. So those answers they fall into place by and by, but we need to keep exposing the mind. I like this express. Expose the mind to the teachings. I know we have jobs, we have things, we have other distractions in life, but when I met James and his knowledge, I was doing nothing but listening and reading him. It became an obsession. Because I saw the value, I say, hey, I don't know how much time I have left, I want to extract every understanding possible. And then over the months and years, and then those pieces start coming together, and then you start seeing, wow, this is so brilliant. You're gonna get that to the degree that you bring your mind into it, and you develop a love, a value, and a devotion to knowledge, as presented by the rishis, by Ishvara. Is that more or less what you're saying? That the answers are come, questions appear, and questions are by and by resolved, and it has been resolved by the individual themselves, because it has to be a click that happens within one's mind. Oh, I got it now. Oh, I got it now. Oh, I got it now. Right?
And at some point you have to, it seems as though you have to recognize that not everything that could be known about Vedanta needs to be known for you to be free.
Absolutely. Very well said. Very well said. Vedanta has a lot of logic for everybody according to one's tendencies or needs. But when we go into those very philosophical aspects of the Vedanta, those scrutinizing satis and logics, that we have to pay a lot of attention. They are not absolutely necessary for self-knowledge, but for some creatures, for some individuals, it may be. No, it may have to go to a certain level of philosophical discussion for the people with philosophical tendencies that are not going to be satisfied until they just go through those things. So it presents logic to serve the purpose of all kinds and types of jivas. If someone is very simple, so just one simple teaching is enough to free oneself. Understand? Oh, you are the subject and everything else that you can see, it's not you, and you are free from the object. It makes sense. I am the subject, and the subject is just the very light of your awareness. The eye behind your eye, the eyes behind your eyes. You say something to someone in simple language like that, and the person has no education, like not a cultured person like Nisargadatta Maharaj, he hardly could read, and that will do. The truth is simple, but ignorance is complicated. Therefore, we have to come up with a lot of complicated teachings to neutralize complicated ignorance. If ignorance was simple, we would not need to complicate logics. Yes, Dadrick.
In this discussion, I would like to share my own experience.
Please.
First, my observation is that somehow Vedanta is misleading. And why? Because it's building on logic. You say, you see, it's like this, so because you see. So that doesn't appeal to every student. They think, okay, it's built on logic. So you get this very good questions of, okay, but how are these things then? And it becomes almost a substantial building of the Vedanta, as if it were true.
Yeah, as if it were true.
As if it were true, but Vedanta is also just Nitya. That is the problem.
Yeah.
You know? But we think that you can hold to something and get an answer out of Vedanta through logic, which is impossible. But I remember for myself in my own process, some years ago, I was thinking about the position of the vasanas. You know, it's in this chart, it is in the causal body. But actually, you can also, the scriptures, to put it in the subtle body. So I was writing James mails, where actually are these vasanas?
Right.
And James actually didn't give a proper answer. He was, I don't know why or what, but the answer came to me all of a sudden. He said, oh, why, Diederik, you are busy with finding out how reality is. But that is not what Vedanta is for. Vedanta is only a means of knowledge in order for us to discriminate between the Atma and the Anatma, for the Viveka, what we talk about. And then everything fell in place.
Right.
So I was not anymore poking from, how's this, how's that, because I have this very philosophical mind, you know, and what, you know, what's true, and for mathematics, you know, okay, that's right, that's what, but somehow you have to give up here, and you have to see that Vedanta is the most beautiful tool there is to find yourself, but you should be able to forget about the logic. That is my experience.
Yeah. And the logic of Vedanta is not a philosophical logic. It's simply the logic of our own experience. Most of the teachings is not philosophical. Some of them are more philosophical. But most of the teachings are just holding our hands and say, hey, stop, analyze your own experience, and then tell me, you know, where does notion that you have about being small, limit, you know, and this and that comes from? You have confused your true fundamental identity with an appearance within yourself. So it's all based on logic, but based on our own experience. And Vedanta is Mithya, like Dadrick said. It's a tool which is not real, but you have knowledge as a mean only to neutralize or cancel intelligence or ignorance. So to leave you free from knowledge and ignorance. That's the only purpose. It's not about knowing everything about Vedanta. You know, we have to keep finding answers to difficult questions sometimes in these discussions. It's just for the sake of satisfying certain minds. If the scripture does not present a certain answer, then they might say, they don't even know what they are talking about. But what the rishis or what scriptures are saying is that you are this, and if you stop and you analyze your experience a little carefully, you will agree with the scriptures that you don't modify with experience, we don't change, that you are not bound by time, you are not born, you are not going to die, and so on, which is the knowledge of our true nature, which frees the individual from this psychological suffering derived from identification with the object or with our experience. Experience is the body. Yes, somebody?
I want to share something. In November in Chennai, to Swami Paramahansa class, came one foreigner from Portugal. And she told him that she will stay here for 1 day. And when he finished his teaching, she started to ask questions. And Swami Paramahansa told her, write down all your questions, and when I will finish Vartodanyaka Upanishad, come again and ask if there will be these questions.
Yeah. That's another point. The structure of traditional Vedanta is such that we go through the teaching, and then the teachings, one class after the other, keeps building and resolve. The teachings are going to present even questions and doubts, so that in the next chapter or next paragraph it resolves it. So if we are patient and if we stay with the teaching, and then the progression of the teaching keeps resolving those questions, that is important. Ranji is not as loose like we have been here in opening up for questions. But how you do? We are here, and you have different people showing up every week. People come and then go. There is no continuity of the logic and so on. So we play as we can. Understand? When Ramji is here, it's different. He's an authority. And then people say, okay, I'm going to listen to him from A to Z. But when we meet here, so we say, oh, there are so many other chai shops around, so why not to go and taste a little bit of everything, and get a little bit more confused. So where have you been here? Let me see if we finish this paragraph. But when we cease to identify the self with the body will not then disappear, for it has empirical reality only. It's not the product of a dream or a misperception. It will continue to act and to experience the results of actions, but will not do so. But we will not do so, for we will know ourselves to be something other than the body. The whole problem about karma and this confusion, well, when I realized the self, oh, look at that guy, he's still doing karma, he's still dealing with a cancer and so on. All of that belongs to the body, to Ishvara's creation, you understand? So to the eyes of the world, they believe that Raman is his body, and they say, oh, he's dealing with real bad karma. He's not dealing with that karma. Karma is part of Ishvara's system, and he no longer holds any sense of I and mine, or sense of identification with the body or the mind. He's doing his best to help the people who are there, following him around until he had to accept to have these people asking questions and so on. There is no question of any karma for someone who is not identified with the system. It's all impersonal. That's what is coming. Ishvara is going to be playing its music until the very end, as far as in reference to each one of us. And the body and the mind is going to keep responding according to its nature. And again, nature is not something static. Oh, I was such an asshole for 25 years, now I got enlightened, it means I'm going to remain that way for the rest of my life. No, when we understand who we are, we develop an appreciation for knowledge. We are what we know as a jiva, So our secondary appearance nature keeps changing as knowledge keeps chipping off bits and pieces of ignorance. And then our nature becomes closer and closer and closer to Ishvara natures, because we have conformed by thoughts and actions to Ishvara.